welcome to another episode of Two Strike Noise, your weekly baseball history podcast. I'm one half of the show. My name's Jeff. The other half of the show, joining us, as usual, Mark A. Johnson. Mark, how you doing?
Hey, Jeff, I appreciate you considering me half of the show. I'm really only 48 3/4. I did this weird measuring thing. A long equation. Never mind. Anyway.
We round up here.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense to me.
All right, well, let's get into the show here. We've got a lot to talk about today. Let's get right into our BP. We want to make sure we're properly warm so we don't pull anything. Now, Mark, we recorded the show last week prior to the announcement of the Contemporary Committee, their Hall of Fame vote last week. So we didn't get to talk about it last week. Now, we had a couple of weeks ago, we had done a show where we had basically done the math. And we'd come up with two players that we were sure were going to be voted into the Hall of Fame. Mark, somehow neither of those players were voted into the Hall of Fame.
Imagine us being wrong. I mean, come on.
Well, let's not say wrong. I don't want to go. I don't want to go that far. But yeah, so Fred McGriff, obviously, it's no secret at this point. It's been a week. Was voted in, which is great. We love Fred McGriff.
Absolutely.
I really did think that this might have been the year where steroid guys might have finally got in, but I was sorely mistaken, as they did not even come close.
No, they didn't, and they may never come close. I mean, we can't say 50 years from now, but right now, people are still, feel like they were fooled by the whole steroid thing, and I know some people who just don't want to come back to baseball because of it, which is unfortunate, but. It maybe someday the stigma will wear off. I don't know. It's
going to be soon. I'm telling you, it will be soon. We were wrong. We'll admit it. But this is the thing. So, okay, Fred McGriff's going to go into the Hall of Fame. What hat is he going to wear in the Hall of Fame?
Good question.
I mean, good career with Atlanta, great career with the Blue Jays, and I don't know about the Padres, but I am going to put my vote in that he wears the Tom Emanski defensive drills hat in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he may. That's an important aspect of his career.
He does a favor for Tom Emanski. Not only is he on the commercial for a decade, what if Tom Emanski's like, bro, if you're going into the Hall, you got to wear this hat.
It was in the original deal they signed.
Yes. Well, McGriff does not have a say in that. He can request, but the Hall of Fame has the ultimate say there. So we'll see what they come up with. I found something really cool. I'm subscribed to StatHead, which is I don't want to say a subsidiary, but it's a subscription thing you can sign up for on Baseball Reference, where you have access to a lot more stats and you can do a lot of cool things in here. Well, one of the things you can do is you can actually normalize stats for different not for different players, but for different eras, for different stadiums and years and so forth. So somebody actually went through, and I hadn't thought of this, but I'm glad somebody did. They actually actualized lifetime stats for every player if they had played in Coors Field in the year 2000.
That's brilliant.
So 2000 was a year that the Coors Field, that's when it averaged its highest home field advantage. They started off just with season stats, individual season stats. Barry Bonds in 2001, had he played in all of his games in Coors Field, would have hit 95 home runs.
Wow.
Right after that, hot on his tail, though, with 87 is Mark McGwire from 1998, and get this, Josh Gibson from 1937.
Oh, that's awesome. It's absolutely a possibility from what we know about Josh Gibson.
Yeah, and so some other numbers here. On base percentage, Barry Bonds, his 2004 season, would have had a .661 on base percentage. That is incredible.
That's one of those things where I wanted to say, why pitch to him? But obviously they're not. So
your guy, Mule Suttles, would have hit, according to this, he would have hit 449 in 1926 as well. Followed closely by Rogers Hornsby with a 448. So it's just fun to just play around with.
That is hilarious.
All right, so they also can extrapolate this for career numbers. So if we're looking at like career home runs, if Henry Aaron would have played all his games in year 2000 Coors Field, he would have hit 1,014 home runs. That's
I don't doubt it.
That's a lot of home runs. Let's see if we go back to the old on base percentage. Ted Williams, if he would have played his career in Coors, would have had a 529 on base. Not bad. RBIs, Henry Aaron again, 3,630 would have been our leader. But get this, he would have also, according to this, he would have ended up with 5,082 hits.
Wow.
So what's really weird about this is that with this extrapolation, Pete Rose, not listed.
Really?
He's not listed on the top hits. Ricky Henderson would be 11th all time with 4,190.
That makes sense.
So that's good. And his stolen base career total would have gone up to 1923. Nice. I guess because he's getting on more. Because with that big outfield, you're going to get a lot more bloopers and so forth.
Makes sense, yeah.
But I just thought that was fun. It's a really cool. So it's $5 a month. You can play around with stuff like this. It's a lot of fun.
That's great.
This is something, Mark, I did not know. We had talked about, first of all, baseball and war, essentially. And we had heard the story about grenades being kind of shaped like baseball so that guys would know how to throw them. This is something that I did not know that supposedly changed the rules of the game of baseball thanks to World War II. This is what I read. Now, again, I read this on the internet, so take it with a grain of salt. I didn't dive too much into it, but it said that Major League Baseball that declared that in the event of an enemy bombing, whoever was leading after 5 innings would automatically be the winner.
Well, that's something we don't think about these days.
No, but I mean that leading after 5 innings is if the game gets called, the winner is declared by whoever is ahead. That is apparently something born out of the fear of being bombed.
No kidding. I never would have thought that.
I just assumed that had always been around. Maybe we'll have to look into it and see if we get anything else.
I just thought it was, it's more than half the game. Yeah,
I guess. But don't you want more than half? See, for me, it'd be like 7. Got to play 7.
6 2/3 for me.
Well, now let's think about it though. When MLB shortened games of a doubleheader a couple of years ago for the pandemic, they didn't go 5, right? They went 7.
Right.
Because 7 is a good chunk of the game, but it's not the whole game. It's hard with baseball because you could score 13 runs in one half inning. I
can think of some Mariners games where I wish they'd only gone 7.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like a football game, right? I watched a football game today. Very
weird.
Testosterone's really high today. But the 49ers blew out the Bucks. The Bucks. Is that how you... I know that's not what we call the Pirates. The Buccaneers. Yeah, the Bucks. It was like 35-0 in the third quarter. I mean, it was over. But they still keep playing. But there was no chance that they were coming back.
Right. No, with a clock.
No, with baseball, you could still do it. Right, because baseball doesn't have a clock. It's probably, maybe. If not, it's a good story.
That's true.
What the heck? Mark, last week we actually made fun about some players or the lack of players, baseball players coming from New Hampshire.
Yes.
Yeah, well, of course, we got an email about it.
Oh.
Yeah. So one of our longtime listeners, Brian Krause, wanted us to know that Mike LaValliere and Steve Balboni are from-ish New Hampshire. Now, he sent me these names, and I looked it up. They were both, at least Steve Balboni was born in Massachusetts, but went to high school in New Hampshire.
Ah.
So, probably the most notable player from New Hampshire is curmudgeonly Hall of Famer Carlton Fisk. But he was born in Vermont, but then went to high school in New Hampshire. So there seems to be a dearth of players that were actually born in New Hampshire.
I tell you what, man, that sounds like a recruiting thing to me.
Well, so I looked it up. So Mike Flanagan is from New Hampshire, and he played for 18 years. Great career.
Yeah.
Chris Carpenter, I don't know which one. I'm not even going to try to pretend to know which one because we will get it wrong. New Hampshire. Bob Tewksbury, a lot of pitchers. Pitcher-heavy state.
I loved Bob Tewksbury.
Yeah, the Tuker. He's there. Sam Fold, there's a name. There's a contemporary player, but also he is the GM of the Phillies right now, I think. So there's Sam Fold. Phil Plantier. He's from New Hampshire. Let's see, Kevin Romine. Yeah, he's from there. I mean, there's not a lot of names here that are that impressive. I'm not going to lie, but I did want to just make sure we mentioned some guys from New Hampshire.
That's right.
Born there. All right, let's get into our trivia question before we get onto the main part of the show. Mark, last week I asked who was the heaviest player ever to steal a base in Major League Baseball. I thought this would be a little bit harder than it was. But we got a couple of answers, a couple of normal names: Brian Krause, Andrew Harmer, Shane Swarznak, who again I don't know, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and Kim P. Do you know? Did your trip to Disneyland? Was there a kiosk there where you could ask baseball questions?
There was a kiosk, but they didn't know either. Oh, yeah, it was unfortunate.
Well, the answer that those four listeners got, which is correct, is Dimitri Young, Demeat Hook.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't think of somebody named Demeat Hook as being particularly quick.
Right.
But he had 25 career stolen bases.
Really?
Yeah, only caught 22, which I say only. That's not a great percentage, but it's not bad. Second on that list at 285 is Adam Dunn.
Oh, wow. I didn't know Adam Dunn was that big.
I knew he was that big. I didn't know he had 63 career stolen bases.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he was only caught 25 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much of that is surprise? That's impressive, though.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, Aaron Judge is fourth on this list. He is at 282. As he gets older, there's the possibility that he puts on a little poundage and can pass Dimitri Young.
He's got a lot of frame to put pounds onto.
Yeah, well, and he's in his 20s still, right? So he's got some time to pack on some weight just to break this record. That's all I'm looking for.
That's it. He's looking to be the heaviest guy to steal a base. That's
exactly. That's all we're looking for. All right. So I got a new question for everybody that we will give the answer out on our next show. Mark, there are 3 teams who have never had an MVP. I mean, they have team MVPs, but you know what I mean, a league MVP. 2 of them are newer teams. It's the Rays and the D-backs. Haven't had an MVP. Who's the other team that has never had a league MVP?
That's a good question.
Well, that's good because I try to come up with good questions. This one's doable. I mean, you just got to really think about it for a good minute or two.
Well, you can eliminate like the Yankees. So I'm giving everybody a hint.
Yes, you can eliminate the Yankees. And I will say this, Ricky Henderson was on the A's when he was the MVP, but
there you go.
Had MVPs before him, but just want to give my boy a shout out. All right. Oh, and you know what? I wanted to mention one thing before we get onto the main while we're still here in BP, because I am now a month away from heading out to fantasy camp down in Phoenix. I told everybody I was going to be working out. I wanted to be accountable. I've continued to work out for the past, it's been like 4 or 5 months now. Mark, I have lost 20 pounds.
Are you serious?
Getting ready for fantasy camp.
Wow.
A lot of my clothes fit a lot better and just fit, period. I feel much better. I'm eating better. And I just wanted to, I'm very proud of myself. So I just wanted to throw it out there that I have lost, since this announcement back in the summer, I have lost 20 pounds and I am getting ready to head on out to fantasy camp. So
and it's not like you were all that big in the first place. It's all muscle now.
Well, I was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. Nothing motivated me to lose weight like having to spend a lot of money to go pretend to be a professional baseball player for a week.
Yeah, you want to have these guys say, "Hey, nice, that was good." Pat you on the back.
And not get hurt when they pat me on the back, yes.
Yeah, see, I have this fear that I would approach it the opposite manner. I'd show up, everybody would have a bottle of water or Gatorade, and I'd have the Diet Dr. Pepper, you know.
Well, I am aware that they do have coolers of beer in the dugouts during the games. So just be aware that
Wow.
all shapes and sizes come to fantasy camp, and it does not matter. You're there to have fun. Nobody's being competitive. You're just there to do what you've always wanted to do. So don't let that discourage you or anybody else.
How come we're not? I should be joining you in filming the entire thing. This would be a great documentary.
Well, you know, the A's and the Mariners used to hold, because Dave Henderson used to run both the A's and the Mariners fantasy camp, and they would hold them together and play games against each other.
Right.
That would have been something we could have done. That would have been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But I'm staying for a week after the camp ends. I'm going to go over because another one of our podcast buddies is doing the Padres fantasy camp, which is the week after. So I'm going to go over and hang out for half a day there and watch them play some games and just see what goes on at Padres fantasy camp. Well, that's enough fantasy talk. Mark, let's get into the main bulk of our show, the main body of our show. I've got a subject today. I don't know that I'd heard about this guy before, but I was actually reading up on Candy Cummings, who is largely considered to be the grandfather of curveballs. And this name came up, Toad Ramsey, Toad Ramsey. Yeah.
Okay.
I read up a little bit about him, and this guy is prime subject matter for us. So
nice.
So here we go. So first of all, one thing we've learned during this run of this podcast, which this is show 194, so we've done a couple of these, is that players in the 1800s and early 1900s, they had two surefire ways to be legendary on the baseball diamond. One, be a drunk. Not just, it's not just I have an occasional 7 or 8 drinks with the boys every day kind of drunk. Spend more of the day drunk and hungover most of the next day until you start drinking again, kind of lush. That's one way, right?
Right.
The second is to grow up on a farm, get too close to some farm machinery and get maimed permanently, possibly life-threatening, and bang, you're in the big leagues, and a century later, Two Strike Noise is talking about you.
That is, I remember seeing that somewhere, that was one of the ways, surefire ways, yeah.
Well, thus enter this week's subject, Thomas Toad Ramsey, who you will see checks all these boxes. So only his mother called him Thomas. Everybody else called him Toad. Why Toad? I do not know. Every article I read said they had no real idea about how this nickname came about. Some say it was a play on his name, Thomas, Toad, kind of close. It's not as bad as being called Ugly Dick Shot, though.
No, agreed.
It's not flattering still, but it's not as bad as that. One article actually called Thomas Portly, which is kind of rude. But seeing the few pictures I did see of him, he did have some cheeks on him. And I think this is where it came from, because, you know, frogs kind of have big cheeks, and then they shoot their tongue out, and it kind of, that's what it reminded me of. So first things first, Toad was born in Indianapolis, Indiana in 1864, and he grew up in the area. His father was a bricklayer, thus meaning that there should have been no farm machinery laying around for young Thomas to forever maim himself on.
Right.
Well, you'd be right in thinking that. Thomas's father decided that Thomas was going to be a bricklayer like him. But while learning the trade as a young man, Tommy severed the tendon in his index finger on his pitching hand with a trowel. Ooh. Thus the disfigurement. So Thomas was a pitcher, so undoubtedly this is not going to help him. At least that's what you would think, right? But we know better. Now, the one thing I did not find while researching Toad Ramsey was an actual picture of his pitching hand. You throw Mordecai Three Finger Brown in the old Google internet and look him up, and you're going to find pictures of his hand. You're going to find more pictures of his hand than you're going to of his head. Thomas didn't actually lose a finger or anything like that, but the severed tendon did mean that he could not straighten his index finger on his pitching hand the whole way. So when he pitched, he would only have the tip of his finger on the ball. Now, there are differing opinions, but many said that this is considered the first knuckleball to be thrown in baseball, though actually it would probably be closer to a knuckle curve at this point. But if, we always have to assign the grandfather title to something, he could be considered the grandfather of the knuckleball.
Okay.
So at this point in baseball, there were really only two pitches. There was a fastball and a drop ball, which was an early variation of a curveball. Thomas threw his versions of these pitches a little bit differently because of his grip, and they did things nobody had seen before. Early in his career while playing for the Chattanooga Lookouts, the Chattanooga Daily Times said he fired his drop ball, quote, as if he were a wizard and his arm were the wand, end of quote.
Wow.
So a little Harry Potter action there in Chattanooga. In 1885, Toad ended up in Louisville playing for our beloved Louisville Colonels, the word that again sounds like it should have an R in it, but it does not. I say our beloved Colonels because the team also included not only outfielder Chicken Wolf, but also the original Louisville Slugger, the gladiator himself, Pietro Gladiator Red Light Distillery Browning, Pete Browning. We just mentioned these guys last week too. I mean, they're pretty firmly entrenched in our show, I think, the Louisville Colonels. So I mentioned at the open here that being a drunk is a good way to get into the higher echelons of baseball.
It certainly helps.
Yeah, well, good old Toad here did his best. Besides being maimed, he could put down some alcohol. So you can imagine that with Pete Browning and Toad Ramsey on the same team, that those two spent some nights and subsequent mornings bending an elbow at the local watering hole.
Ooh, wow.
Well, the Colonel's ace, Guy Hecker, had a sore arm and they needed another pitcher to finish the season. That's how Toad ended up in the Colonel's uniform for the end of the season. The Colonels were on a month-long road trip to end the season. Now, I don't know, maybe U2 was playing at their home stadium, so they had to hit the road for September. Maybe the inflatable ceiling of their stadium had collapsed. I don't know. Those are the things I know why people spend a month on the road.
Yeah, there's also ceiling tiles.
Ceiling tiles, yes, definitely. Well, the team was not great, but Toad pitched well. The season ended. The teams at this point, they continued playing exhibition games just to make money. So the Colonels headed back home, and the hometown fans got their first look at Toad in person. That was on October 11th against Nashville of the Southern League. Ramsey tossed a 15 strikeout no-hitter in a 19-0 win. The fans, you can imagine, were pretty jazzed about this. And they had another game coming up in a couple of games. Toad was scheduled to pitch for that. It was against the St. Louis Maroons. So the stadium's packed because everybody wants to see this new guy. Threw a no-hitter, struck out 15. First pitch is scheduled for 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock comes around, sold out stadium. Everybody's kind of hanging out. They can't really start the game because Ramsey is not there. Can't find him anywhere. He's not at the stadium. So they wait about a half hour, about 3:30. They say, all right, well, we got to get started. Put the first baseman. He's going to pitch to start the game. So they start the game. Finally, we get around the second inning. Who comes strolling into the dugout? None other than Toad Ramsey. Despite being late and being obviously drunk, they put him in. They're like, get out there. The local paper described the outing like this. Quote, he walked unsteadily into the box, because remember, they pitched from a box, not a mound at this point, and with a kind of dazed air, tossed the first batter 7 balls in succession, none of which came within a yard of the plate. And remember, it took 7 balls to walk. You had to really work to walk somebody at this point. But he did it pretty easily. All right, so fast forward to the start of next year, his first full season with the Colonels. Toad went 37-27 with a 2.45 ERA. He threw 588 2/3 innings. And
Nice.
He struck out 499 guys. That's a lot. I mean, he did also walk 207. But again, 490, that's a lot to strike out. Now remember also at this time, as well as 7 balls to walk somebody, you had to get 4 strikes to punch somebody out at this point. So to strike out that many batters and having to get 4 strikes, that is very impressive. An interesting number to look at here is also the runs that Toad gave up. 297 runs credited to Toad, only 160 of them were earned. The defense behind him was awful, and Toad definitely took notice of it. He often commented that he actually tried to strike every single batter out because he couldn't trust even the best fielders to make an out, so he wanted to do it himself. It should be noted that Toad was also an awful fielder. He always led pitchers in errors committed.
Being drunk didn't help.
No, well, when you've got 2 balls or 3 balls coming at you, you got to pick the right one.
Right.
And then you're throwing to 3 different first basemen. It's not easy. Besides the walks, there were a lot of pass balls, a lot of wild pitches. Now, obviously, guys weren't getting behind home plate in the 1880s with the catcher's gear we know today. Even with that gear, though, today, it's hard to catch a pitch like a knuckleball. Bob Uecker is famous for saying his strategy for catching knuckleballs was to wait for it to stop rolling, then go pick it up.
That's right.
So thus started something new in Louisville that is still used today when there is an actual knuckleballer in the league. Toad had a personal catcher. John Cairns was the only guy that could really handle Toad's pitches, so he was kind of Toad's valet, his personal catcher. His second full season with the Colonels, just as impressive. He went 37-27, almost the exact same record. His ERA was up a little, 3.43, and he did lead the league in Ks with 355.
Another good year.
Yeah, another really good year. But I mean, this Colonels team must have been something. You've got Browning, as we discussed when we did our episode on him. He hated the press and sometimes seemed more interested in fighting with them than playing baseball. The team's ace that I mentioned, Guy Hecker, did not like Toad at all because now he was on the team challenging him for that top spot in the rotation. A rotation, mind you, that had 2 pitchers in it. That was it. They were the 2 starters. They were the only 2 starters. You never knew who out of that starting 9 for this Colonels team was going to show up, or better yet, show up sober and ready to play baseball. Speaking of not showing up, another time Ramsey, who had tabs open at bars across Louisville that were unpaid, he just didn't pay his tabs. He was actually arrested and thrown into jail, keeping him from playing because several of these bars had just had enough and said, hey, this guy owes us money. Toad played 5 years with Louisville, battling sobriety the entire time. Last week, we talked about the 1988 Orioles and their 0-21 start. Well, I mentioned the Colonels and their 1889 season where they went 27, 111, and 2. Well, Toad did his part for that team. Before being traded to the Browns midway through that horrible season, Toad went 1-16 for the Colonels with a 5.59 ERA. I'm going to guess he wasn't sober most of that year.
Wow.
Just a guess. Toad spent only one full season in St. Louis, putting up some good numbers. He went 23-17. He struck out 257 in 348 innings, but that was it for the big leagues for Toad. At age 25, he was done.
Wow.
There are varying rumors as to why nobody else wanted this guy. One prevalent theory is that he was blacklisted because of his drinking. I mean, in this day and age, there would have been still people taking flyers on him because when he could pitch, he was incredible. But it just seems like he might have been drunk more often than he was. Toad played for many years in smaller independent leagues around the country, always waiting for that call to get back in the big leagues, but it never came. He eventually returned to Indianapolis, where he tended bar for his brother William, which seems a little dangerous to me given his propensity to drink.
Yes.
But nonetheless, Toad passed away from pneumonia in 1906 at the age of 41. Ramsey left a legacy on the mound, throwing, as I said, what some consider the first knuckleball. Ramsey's drinking likewise left a legacy. The Toad Ramsey cocktail. Get this. A pint of whiskey poured into a pitcher of beer. It's like a jumbo supersized Boilermaker. Toad was said to have consumed somewhere around 3 of these a night at his peak. That's all. I mean, a pint. That's a beer glass of whiskey just dropped into a pitcher of beer. So before we finish with Toad, I want to recount the best story that I found about him. There is no date on this, so I didn't know exactly where to put it, so we're just going to stick it here at the end. This took place in Louisville, so that gives us a little bit of a time frame, but Ramsey was offered $100 to pitch in a semi-pro game. It's a lot of money in the 1880s, but Ramsey said, I don't want to. No. Instead, what I want $5 for every batter I strike out. Give me 5. Ramsey went 8 innings and had 24 strikeouts.
Wow.
But there was a little bit of controversy surrounding this. When it came to settling up, Ramsey did not get all his money. He questioned, well, why not? Well, apparently throughout the game, Ramsey would call for pop-ups in the infield and then let them drop, ensuring that no out was recorded unless it was via a strikeout.
Oh, God. Oh my gosh.
Finally, the two sides settled on $50, a week's board, and what I can only assume is an old-timey way of saying all the beer he could drink. He was given, quote, all the foam he could blow, end quote.
Oh, God, that's funny.
I'm assuming that's right, though. That's all you can drink beer?
It makes sense.
Yeah, the head of the beer. But
yeah.
There you go. Toad Ramsey. We're going to call him the grandfather of the knuckleball.
There you go. That's good stuff.
All right, so enough Toad Ramsey. Mark, it is time to head into the final segment of the show. It is time to head into everybody's cardboard-based baseball card game show, if you will. It is time for Wax Packs Heroes. Hit that thing.
Gonna pull a Wax Pack Hero. Dark stars in his eyes. Pack Hero. On the podcast tonight.
All right, Mark, looking at the scoreboard, we are evened up at 13 apiece.
Yes, you're playing some good wax packs this year.
Yeah, so it's like the best of 13 to decide a winner.
That's right.
Knowing my luck, you're just going to win the next 7 in a row. But it is time to open up a couple of vintage. In this case, they are actual wax packs. This week, we are going to be opening up some 1990 Donruss. Some beauties here. We are going to, if you're new here, I'll tell you how we do this, just so you're not lost. Since these are from 1990, we're going to look at these cards. We are going to total the 1990 baseball reference WAR for each of them. Beyond that, a couple of other things that can add to the score. Anything on the player's face. That means glasses, flip down sunglasses, mustaches, eye black. Brady Anderson-esque sideburns have been working their way in there. Anything like that, you're going to get extra 10th of point of WAR. If the player is wearing real stirrups where we can see actual sanitary socks, that's an extra 10th of a point. But we're going to take away 10th of a point if they're 2-1s because that's lazy. If they've got sweatbands with their jersey number or a caricature, aka Mims bands on them, that's an extra 10th of a point. Any of their final 3 seasons, they went to purgatory and played for the Mariners at this point. That's an extra 10th of a point for each season. 2 flaps or no flaps on the batting helmet is an extra 10th of a point. Batting without batting glove, likewise. Any awards they won that year, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, All-Star Gold Glove, all of that, a whole half a point of WAR each. If there is a Hall of Famer on the card, whether we're focusing on them or not, that's an extra point. If Ricky Henderson is on a card for either Mark or myself, I'm going to get 5 points for that. But if Nolan Ryan is, Mark's going to get the 5 points. And we are also going to each pick a team. And just like the Nolan Ryan, Ricky Henderson thing, if my team comes up, I'm going to get an extra half a point. If Mark's team comes up, he's going to get an extra half a point. So Mark, who are you choosing this week?
Going West Coast. We're going San Diego Padres.
All right. You're going with the dads. I'm going to go with the Colonel. Oh, I can't go with the Colonels, can I? Shoot.
No.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with. Well, I'm going to stick in Southern California. I'm going to go with the Angels.
Ooh.
I don't know if either of us has ever actually chosen the Angels before.
We may not have.
All right. So, Mark, I got these 2 packs, one in my left hand, one in my right. Which one would you like?
I'm going to go because I think right's been winning. So I'm going to go with the left, of course.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to have you go first because that's what I like to do. And let's go ahead and play a little Wax Packs Heroes. Remember, betting is allowed. Just keep it under your hats. Don't let anybody know about it. So we're gonna lose a couple of cards here to get this moving along. Do you want to lose them from the top or the bottom?
I'm gonna go with the bottom.
That's good because one of my favorite pitchers is on top. All right, so let's see any big names that you are losing. Steve Bedrosian. Ooh, Mike Greenwell. That one might hurt. A young Jay Bell, Phil Bradley, and Mike Smithson. So, not too bad. The Greenwell might hurt you, but...
Yeah.
All right, so your first player is my favorite relief pitcher of all time. I think I've mentioned this before. Do you remember who that is?
I probably have it somewhere in the back of my head that it's not Dennis Eckersley.
No, it is not. It is Gene Nelson.
There. Oh, yeah.
Now, and good news for you is he always has a 0.2 of a point mustache going on at all times. Let's see. Gino, 13 years in the big leagues, came up with the Yankees in 81 before going to Seattle. Unfortunately for you, did not finish in Seattle. 1990, he was in Oakland. Oh, wow. Good season, as always. 3-3 out of the bullpen, 51 games, a 1.57 ERA, 74 innings pitched, 38 strikeouts. He didn't strike out a lot of guys. He just got guys out. And that equals an ERA plus of 236.
Ow.
Jeez. 74 and 2/3 innings. He gave up 13 earned runs.
That's a nice season.
That is a good season. That will get you a 2.3 on the WAR scale, plus the 0.2 of a point mustache is going to start you off at 2.5 right out of the gate.
Beautiful.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, next. Oh boy, good for you. One of your favorite players of all time. Shortstop for the Seattle Mariners, Omar Vizquel.
Oh, I see. You were being sarcastic. Okay.
Omar Vizquel, kind of on the no-talk list, so we'll go through this quickly. Little O did not finish up with the Mariners, despite the fact he played 5 years there. Actually played much longer in Cleveland than anywhere else. He played 11 years in Cleveland. Didn't realize it was that long. Let's see, in 1990, his second year in the big leagues, though, it was with Seattle, 81 games, all of them at short. He hit 247, 295 on base, 2 home runs. Not a whole lot of power, as you can expect out of Omar. A 67 OPS plus, and that will equal a WAR of 1.5, and he's got some eye black on, so that'll be a 1.6. I mean, so far after 2 cards, you're at 4.1. You can't really...
Yeah, you left out part of Vizquel's nickname, though. It's Little O for 4.
Okay, I'll accept that. He is currently on the Do Not Talk About list, though, so we move on to your next player, who is a pitcher with sad eyes for the Chicago White Sox, Steve Rosenberg. He does. He's got sad eyes.
I believe you. I just don't remember.
Maybe he's got sad eyes because you don't remember him.
He's very sad.
He's looking into the future. Oh, and now this is interesting. The picture, the headshot here of Steve Rosenberg on Baseball Reference is from the card I am looking at and holding in my hand here.
Weird.
So if you want to see his sad eyes, just go ahead and look up Steve Rosenberg in Baseball Reference. I'm going to guess somebody at some point in his career called him Rosie, so we are too. Rosie, 4 years in the big leagues. Well, you're very lucky you didn't pick his 89 season where he went 4-13. But in 1990 with the White Sox, he appeared in 6 games, had a 1-0 mark, only 10 innings, and 4 strikeouts for a 74 ERA plus, and that equals a minus 0.1. And I don't think I can give you a 1/10 of a point for the sad eyes, despite the fact they are on his face.
I wouldn't expect so. No.
that would open up the whole new can of worms if we were to give points for sad eyes.
We're trying to decipher emotion.
Yes. All right. So you're at 4 even. Your next card is a DH for the Rangers. Some really good real stirrups going on here, though. If I could give 0.2 of a point for stirrups, Rick Leach here would get it.
Right on. Way to wear the stirrups, Rick.
All right. So Rick Leach, I'm guessing somebody at some point in his playing days called him Leachy. I don't know, but we're gonna call him Leachy as well. 10 years in the big leagues. Good for him. He got that card. He got that golden ticket where you can get into any game. 10 years in the big leagues. Let's see. Most of them with Toronto. 5 with Toronto. He ended up in San Francisco for his final year in 1990. He played 78 games, played the corner, outfields, first base, and DH. He hit .293, a .373 on base. These aren't bad numbers. Only 2 home runs, though, 16 RBI, and a 118 OPS plus. That is still good for a .7 WAR, plus the stirrups will be a .8.
Very nice.
Not really big names, but you're doing okay here. Apparently, Rick Leach got into a game in 1984 and pitched for an inning.
Well, he was a quarterback. In fact, he finished 3rd in the voting for the Heisman Trophy.
What year and where did he go to school?
1978, and he went to the University of Michigan.
Roll Big Blue. I know that's not what it is. I just wanted to get some people upset. I almost said Roll Tide to really get some people up.
Wow.
But, well, he was a better quarterback than he was a pitcher. I'll say that. In one inning, he gave up 3 runs. And one of them was a home run. Well, now that's impressive. He gave up a home run because if you've got a position player pitching, normally they're not throwing it up there very fast. So it's harder to hit a home run.
That's true. Physics, the laws of physics say so.
Wow, he's got 2 Wikipedia pages. I guess one's probably for football, for when he was at Michigan State. I'm just trying to say, now I'm just trolling. All right. Man. So you're at 4.8. Your next card is a catcher that did not like Ricky Henderson very much. And you're going to get some good points here. 1, because he's got a mustache. 2, because he's got real stirrups on. And 3, because he's wearing a batting helmet with no flaps on at all.
Oh, nice.
And he's only wearing 1 batting glove. Like that's 5 points. Isn't that 1, 2, 3, 4? I went to Washington, University of Washington. That's why my bat. See,
you're such a liar.
All right, so let's see. Ernie Witt. Ernie Witt said some swear words at Ricky Henderson at one point. I'm not going to repeat because we're a family-friendly show. But 15 years in the big leagues for Ernie Witt. Most of it with Toronto. 12, in fact, with Toronto. 1990, he was with Atlanta. I think I vaguely remember that, seeing him in Atlanta. Let's see, 67 games, a 172 average, 265 on base, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, and a 40 OPS plus, and that is a minus 1.2, so it's a good thing you had at least a positive 0.4 out of the other stuff there. But this is a good card. I mean, this is old school card right here.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
He's a catcher, so he is old school.
Ernie Witt, by the way, the manager of the Canadian national baseball team.
Oh, currently?
Currently.
Oh, good for him. I think, for some reason, I feel like we've said that. We've probably pulled this card before, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he wrote an autobiography, apparently while he was still playing, where he called umpire Joe Brinkman incompetent.
Wow.
That's probably something you want to do after you've retired.
Yeah, I wouldn't go babbling about umpires like that, especially if you're a pitcher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so apparently also he was a part owner of Mother's Pizza, which was a chain in southern Ontario. And he would frequently appear and sign autographs. There was an Ernie Witt special on the menu, but there is no what's on it. What makes it an Ernie Witt special?
They don't tell us?
No, but it does say it went bankrupt in 1992.
Oh, bummer.
All right, so you're at 4 even now. Next, you've got El Presidente with the Expos, Denny Martinez.
Very nice. Always a fan of Denny Martinez. One heck of a pitcher.
Has a perfect game to his name. Let's see, 23 years pitching in the big leagues. Pretty good. 11 with Baltimore, who he came up with, and then 8 with Montreal, and then some more scattered about there, including his second to last year with the Mariners. So that'll help you out, along with his mustache.
Yeah, always had a good one.
Good news for you. Also in 1990 with Montreal, he was an all-star. He went
beautiful.
10 and 11, 2.95 ERA, 226 innings pitched, 156 strikeouts, a 124 ERA plus, and that will equal a WAR of 4.7. Wow. Very nice.
Wow. Then he could toss a baseball.
Yeah, so that'll bring you up to 5.4 on that card and more than double your score just with Denny. Let's see. Won a World Series in '83 with Baltimore, though he did not play in the playoffs there.
I don't know if he still is, but at one point he did manage the Nicaraguan national baseball team.
That's the theme to this pack.
Nice job.
Yeah, we figured it out. Let's see. Oh, so apparently, I did not know this. Denny apparently also had quite a struggle with alcohol, but it looks like he kicked the habit pretty early in his career and went on to obviously have a very good career.
Yeah, good for him.
So it was 1991 when Denny Martinez threw his perfect game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm pretty sure that was in Dodger Stadium, too.
I think it was.
All right, so you have got 3 cards left here at 9.4. Next, we have got Bay Area native Willie McGee.
E.T.
A nickname that Willie McGee does not care for.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, that's not a great nickname. Let's see. Willie McGee, 18 years in the big leagues, 13 with the St. Louis Cardinals, who he came up with, and he also ended his career with them, 4 years with the Giants, and then part of a season with Boston, full season with Boston, part of a season with the A's in 90. So in 1990, of course, the Cardinals at the deadline sent McGee to the A's, where he ended up winning the National League batting title as a member of the Oakland Athletics. Overall, he hit .324 for the year, 3 home runs, 77 RBI, 31 stolen bases, a .373 on base, and a 120 OPS plus. And all of that will equal a WAR of 5.3.
Wow, big year for Willie.
That is. Plus, he's got a mustache as usual, so that'll be a 5.4 and bump you up to 14.8. You started off a little slow, but wow, you've really got some good cards here. All right, your second to last, your penultimate card is a rated rookie. From the Blue Jays, it is Alex Sanchez.
I must have had 500 of that guy's rookie cards.
Well, now you have 501 because I'm going to set this one aside for you.
Thanks.
So that you will always have that.
Lucky me.
All right, let's see. Sanchez played 1 year, 4 games in the big leagues. Wow, and that was in 1989. He went 0-1, 10.03 ERA, 11 2/3 innings. Not good. He walked 14 in those 11 2/3 innings and struck out 4, and did not get another chance in Major League Baseball. Let's see. So that was in 1989. He was still playing in 1998.
Wow. That's knocking around for a long time.
Yeah, he kicked around the minors a lot. He also went and played in Taiwan for 1 season. But man, that is. I mean, let's not lie. You and I would do that too.
I imagine I would. Yeah, you just don't want to give it up.
As long as somebody's paying you to play, you're definitely going to do that.
But interesting thing, Alex was born in Concord, California, and he went to Antioch High School and inducted into the Antioch High School Sports Hall of Fame in 2010. This is our first card we've ever pulled that had a Hall of Famer from the Antioch High School Hall of Fame.
Wow. Okay. Well, Antioch's probably about a half-hour drive from my house. I might need to go see this Hall of Fame.
Yes. Go check it out.
Might do that. All right. Oh gosh. Your final card. Now this is not rigged in any way, shape, or form. Your final card is a pitcher for the Texas Rangers.
Oh, no way.
Yo, boy. As if you weren't already having a good enough round here. Your final card is Nolan Ryan.
That's amazing.
Wow. All right. So you know off the top you're going to get the Hall of Fame and you're going to get the Nolan Ryan bonus. So that's 6 points before we even look at any of his numbers from 1990.
Good start.
Not cool.
I can guarantee you he didn't finish his career with the Mariners.
No, he didn't. Well, he was Seattle.
It was in the Kingdom.
Yeah. Let's see. 1990, 13-9 with a 3.44 ERA, 30 starts, 204 innings. He struck out a league-leading 232 and had a 1.14 ERA plus. And that is going to equal a 3.5 WAR plus your 6 bonus points. That'll be a 9.5.
That's a pretty decent card right there.
Yeah. Wow. That'll take you up to 24.3. I mean, if I get a Ricky card from this year, I'm going to get MVP numbers too.
Yeah.
But what are the chances of that?
That was crazy funny.
Wow. All right. So 24.3. I'm going to really need to step up my game here. I'm going to lose the bottom cards like you did and hope that Ricky Henderson is like the last one. All right. So who am I going to lose? I'm going to lose Kevin Bass. I'm going to lose that mustache. Hubie Brooks, Mike McFarland, Kirby Puckett, and Dennis Eckersley. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Jeez. Those are 2 Hall of Famers that probably had some good years in 1990. I know Eck did. Yikes.
I'm sure Kirby did.
All right, let's get on with the massacre. All right, so starting off, I have got a catcher for the Giants who is wearing real stirrups, no batting gloves, glasses. So that's good. It's Terry Kennedy.
Very nice.
How about Terry Dead Kennedys? Is that...
I'm a Dead Kennedys fan personally.
Let's see here. Terry Kennedy, 14 years in the big leagues, 6 of it with the Padres, 3 with the Giants, 3 with the Cardinals, 2 with the Orioles. In 1990, it was his second to last year in the league. 107 games. He hit 277, a 342 on base, 2 home runs, 26 RBI, and a 100 even OPS plus, and that will get me a 1.5, which is not too bad. Plus I get the bonus for the stirrups, the batting gloves, and the glasses. So that'll be a 1.8, which I think is higher than your first card. So I am on pace to upset you.
You just need that 9-pointer.
First overall draft pick of the Cardinals in 1977. I was also traded for Storm Davis at one point. Also traded for Raleigh Fingers at one point, and also traded for Bob Melvin at one point.
My goodness.
There's some names. The son of Bob Kennedy as well. Bobby Kennedy was a outfielder in the 40s and 50s. He played 16 years in the big leagues.
Interesting. Terry and his father, Bob, as you said, became the first father and son duo to drive in World Series runs. And it was after Terry drove in a couple runs for the Tigers in 84.
All right, so I'm at 1.8 after my first card. My second card is outfielder for the Guardians, Dave Clark, a.k.a. Clarky. Now, I'm not even making that one up. It says right here, nickname Clarky.
Clarky.
So, it's just lazy. Let's see. Clarky, 13 years in the big leagues, 5 with Pittsburgh, 4 with Cleveland, and a bunch of other teams. In 1990, he was spent a single season with the Cubs that year, apparently. 84 games as the left fielder, hit 275, 5 home runs, 20 RBI, 7 stolen bases. I like that. And an 89 OPS plus, and that will equal a WAR of minus 0.4. I don't like that. He's got eye black on, so it'll only be a minus 0.3. I imagine, I would think with the nickname Clarky, when he was with the Cubs, he could have gotten some endorsement deals. But that's just me.
Yeah, interesting. He was actually interim manager for my Astros for, I believe, 13 games.
When was that?
2009.
Well, he was a first-round draft pick in 83 by Cleveland.
Another first rounder.
Yeah, a lot of... we already had that. I think we've mentioned this before, right? His brother Lewis was a wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks.
That's right. Yes.
Lewis Clark.
And as well as a big fan of, scouting the Northwest, like Lewis and Clark. Oh, that did not work.
All right. Next, I have got a shortstop for Atlanta. It's Andres Thomas.
Oh, wow. Andres Thomas. I totally forgot about him. Sorry, Andres.
Let's see. Andres, 6 years in the big leagues, all of it with Atlanta. 1985 through 1990 was his last year. 84 games. He appeared on the left side of the infield where he hit 219, a 248 on base. This is not looking good for me. 5 home runs, 30 RBI, and 48 OPS plus, and a WAR of minus 1.8.
Ouch.
Which that'll put me in the negative for my totals.
Ouch.
This is kind of what I expect most of the time.
Oh gosh.
Let's see. A free swinger prompted then Atlanta broadcaster Don Sutton to ask hypothetically, why would you ever throw him a strike? So get this. Okay. Free swinger, low batting average, low on base, erratic fielder, leading all shortstops with 29 errors in 1988.
What did he do?
How did he? I mean, I guess we're talking about the mid 80s Atlanta. I mean, I guess it was the best they could do.
Wow.
All right, moving on. I am at minus 0.3 now. Next, I got a pitcher for the Royals, Mark Gubicza.
Mark Gubicza.
Do I get points for having a player whose last name has a C and a Z next to it?
Only if it's painter Paul Cezanne.
Yeah.
Wow, where did that come from?
Just I don't know how to spell.
Random.
I don't know how to spell his last name. So, Goobs. I'm giving him that nickname because I know that was his nickname. Let's see. Pitched 14 years in the big leagues. The first 13 of which were with the Royals, and then in 1997 he finished up with the Angels. In 1990. Looks like he was hurt most of the year. He went 4-7 with a 4.5 ERA in 16 games, 94 innings, 71 strikeouts, and an 86 ERA plus, and that will equal a WAR of 1.2.
Hey, positive.
And he's got real stirrups on, so that'll be a 1.3. That's parade worthy at this point for me. It gets me in the positive as well.
At the time of his retirement, Gubicza held Royals franchise records for strikeouts, third in wins, and second with wins above replacement with 38.0.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's not bad. Except it wasn't the year that you had him.
No. Can I do his career numbers instead?
Let me think about it. No.
All right. Oh, well, he met his wife at the wedding of Brett Saberhagen.
Oh, interesting.
I wonder, do you think Brett Saberhagen rapped on his at his wedding ceremony?
He may have rapped his vows.
That's what he was good. He was really good.
Yeah.
Then they probably drove off in that MVP model Ford pickup truck with the cans tied to the back. I'm just speculating, but it's I'm pretty sure it happened. All right, so I'm at 1 even. I got big money coming here. I've got pitcher for the Blue Jays, Xavier Hernandez.
The X-Man.
Pretty much anybody whose first name is Xavier, you're going to call the X-Man, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's see. Xavier actually pitched for 10 years in the big league, so he got that golden ticket. 5 with Houston, and then shorter stints with a bunch of other teams. Came up with Toronto in 89, but 1990 with Houston, he went 2-1 with a 4.62 ERA. 62 innings pitched, 24 strikeouts, and 81 ERA plus, and an and a WAR of minus 0.1. Thanks for nothing. Now I'm wondering if they took this shot during the ALCS. He's in Oakland, and the stands are absolutely packed, and there's a bunch of people in the warning track. I'm going to guess that this is before an ALCS game. I'm sleuthing, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is.
I actually recall, because of Strat, his 92 season where he went 9-1 as a reliever, Vulture. 2.11 ERA, and 111 innings pitched.
Yep. I bet you his nickname was not X-Man that year. It was the Vulture.
He was, when he was on, you had no chance.
Well, he was once traded for Andy Stankiewicz, too.
Oh, there's that.
The Stanker. All right, so I've got 4 cards left, and I am at 0.9. I'm positive, at least. Next, we've got a nasty boy, pre-nastiness. Here with the Mets, it is Randy Myers. Well, he's pictured pre-nasty. He might have been traded here during the 90s season. Oh, he was traded. Yeah, well, at least he was on the Reds in 1990. But the good news for me, he was an all-star this year. And he came in 5th in Cy Young voting and 17th in MVP voting. So I'm looking for big things. Record-wise, 4-6, not that impressive. A 2.08 ERA, 66 games he appeared in, 31 saves, 86 and 2/3 innings pitched, 98 strikeouts, and a 193 ERA plus. And that is good for a WAR of 3.1, plus the All-Star will get me a 3.6. You scared yet with your 24.3?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the the big giant card. Do you remember when the Padres waiver claimed Myers?
I do not.
Yeah, they waiver claimed just basically to prevent a trade.
Oh.
And they had Trevor Hoffman at the time. And so they didn't want him to get dealt to the Braves, and they figured that the Blue Jays would rescind their waiver claim, but they just let it fly.
Like, there you go.
And Padres got the contract and the player.
Randy, a first-round draft pick by the Mets in '82 in the secondary draft, apparently, was traded by the Mets with Kip Gross for John Franco. Well, when they claimed him, Myers had $12 million and 2 years remaining on his contract.
Yeah, I remember it because it was like no one ever it was after the trade deadline, and they were going to make the deal, and then everybody always, we'll put a claim in for him, and that stops the trade. And they put a claim in. The Blue Jays went, sure.
Take him. He's yours. All right, so that brings me up to 4.5. I've got an Expos pitcher that is not El Presidente. And your response should always be, it's probably Bryn Smith. It's Bryn Smith.
Bryn Smith.
Well, if it's Bryn Smith that I've got the mustache point right there. Not a 0.2 of a point, but it's a good mustache regardless. Let's see, Bryn Smith, 13 years in the big leagues, 9 with Montreal, 3 with St. Louis, 1 with Colorado to finish up. In 1990 with St. Louis, he went 9-8, 4.27 ERA, 141 innings pitched, 78 strikeouts, and 89 ERA plus, and that is good for a WAR of -0.7.
Ouch.
He does have real stirrups in that mustache, so it'll actually only be a -0.5. But
I was rooting for you, Jeff.
You bring some, you lose some, I guess.
Hey-oh.
All right, I'm down to my final 2 cards. I am at 4 even, so I am only 20.3 behind you. All right, next I have got an MVP card from the Pirates. It's Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby.
All right, Bobby Bo, 16 years in the big leagues, 6 with the Pirates, 5 with the Mets, then just a whole bunch of teams that he bounced around with. 1990, good news for me, all-star year. Also led the league in sacrifice flies. Do I get something for that?
You get a hearty handshake.
Okay, well, that's worth 10 points. Let's see, 160 games. He hit 280, 322 on base, 32 home runs, 120 RBI, and an OPS plus of 132. And that will get me a WAR of 4.0 even plus the All-Star, and he's got a mustache. That'll be a 4.6. So I've more than doubled my score with Bobby Bo.
Of course, July 1 being Bobby Bonilla Day.
I think it's losing its luster because so many guys are getting that now.
He was the one we referred to first, but yeah, there's a bunch now.
Yeah, I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. is still getting paid. A lot of those guys are. A lot of the guys that are signing contracts today are deferring as well. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys. Hey, did you know in 2001 with the Cardinals that Bobby Bo pitched?
I did not know that.
It didn't go well. 1 inning pitched, 3 hits. He gave up a home run, too. 2 runs, both of them earned. And he balked, apparently.
Oh, man, Bobby.
Come on, Bobby. You got to know not to balk when you're on the mound there. Okay, we've talked about Bobby plenty of times. I'm at 8.6. I'm at my final card. Oh, well, this is a good card. I'm not sure it's going to, get me 14 points. But here with the Rangers, it is recording artist Ruben Sierra.
Rube Benowitz. Gotta like him.
I think Ruben might hold the record for most albums put out while playing.
Yes. Yeah, one of those important records. How is he not in the Hall of Fame for that? What's up with that?
I don't know, but he's in the album cover Hall of Fame for the one where he's leaning against the car and he's like spraying water on himself or something. It's a good one. Let's see, 20 years in the big leagues. Very nice. He played up till he was 40. 10 years, so half of his career was in Texas, 5 with the Yankees, 4 with Oakland. In 1990 with the Rangers, it was sandwiched between all-star years, but no. 159 games, hit 280, 330 on base, 16 home runs, 96 RBI, 9 stolen bases, no caught stealing. That's good work.
Wow.
A 111 OPS plus, and that will equal a WAR of 1.6. He does have real strips, and he's got mustache here, so that'll be a 1.8. I'm not going to give you my total. It's not worth it. I'm not close. You more than doubled it, and I want to forget this one. So congratulations. You are now up to 14. I literally said you were going to probably just run off 7 in a row, and there's your first one.
Well, in a game of skill like this, people get streaky. We'll see what happens.
All right, so that's going to wrap up this rendition of Wax Packs Heroes. It's also going to wrap up this show, and I thank everybody once again for listening. If you want more of us, you can find us all over the internet. So all you have to do is really Google Two Strike Noise. Best place to reach us these days is on Facebook. We're much more active there than we are on the Bird app. Check that maybe once or twice a week for now. So if you want to get a hold of us, please check us out on Facebook. Feel free to follow us and like us there as well. We're still getting our feet wet there in the old Facebook pool. We also have an email address that Mark likes to watch like a hawk that he wants to tell you about.
I check it 70, 80 times a day, kids. Yeah, it's Two Strike Noise. I almost forgot what it was. Two Strike Noise. You got to spell it out using letters, no numbers, at gmail.com. Let me try that again. twostrikenoise@gmail.com. There you go.
Look in the show notes. I'll put it all there. You can get a hold of us many, many different ways. If you just ask Mark, he'll give you his phone number too.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, guys.
All right. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you again on the next episode of Two Strike Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.